my study is repurposing antihypertensive drugs to examine their therapeutic efficacy in cancer. To begin with a brief of cancer and the overall statistics, uh, according to WHO, cancer is a generic term for a large group of diseases that can affect any part of body, and metastases are a major cause of death from cancer. So, based on the WHO statistics, cancer is the second leading cause of death globally, just after the cardiovascular diseases. Despite advances in the diagnostic, medical, and several interventional fields, the number of new cancer cases are increasing drastically globally. So, recent statistics show that in 2020, around cancer is a multifactorial and complex group of diseases that involves dynamic changes in the genome, factors uh, such as genes, hormones, age, and sex, as well as exogenous factors like solvents, ionizing radiation, and drug intake. So, treatment for this complex illness involves the radiotherapy, surgery, chemotherapy, and chemotherapy being the most common and classical treatment option, but it has got its own share of side effects and drawbacks. Since it is non-specific in that the drugs used to treat patients cannot distinguish between tumor and normal cells. The inability to distinguish between the two types of cells leads to a second problem, toxic side effects that are often more debilitating than the disease. Therefore, uh, therefore, developing potent anti-cancer therapies which are non-toxic, sustainable, and affordable is the call of the era. The health and socioeconomic implications of cancer underscore an urgent need for identifying and applying successful preventive and therapeutic options. Okay, then during the process of drug development, drug repurposing or positioning appears to be an important source of possible pharmacological alternative for cancer treatment. During repurposing, sorry. So, what exactly is this drug repurposing? It is drug development strategy based on the idea of reusing existing drugs for new medical indications. So, and this strategy has been considered an important alternative in many fields of medicine, especially in complex disorders. So it represents an important advantage compared to developing new drugs, not only by economic standards, but also by reducing the time to bring a new treatment to patients. It has been regarded as a reasonable strategy for the development of new anti-cancer therapies as well, considering that the traditional development of oncology drugs has a phase 1 to FDA approval rate of 3.4%, and it is really alarming. One of the lowest compared to other therapeutic groups in recent years. So these are the approaches of drug repurposing. So it includes the in silico screening of the drug, molecular docking for macrophore modeling, and then validating this in silico data with the in vitro assays. And then we can go for the in vivo animal models as well. And this slide is just the brief only repurposing drugs in cancer. So how it's just a comparison of the normal drug discovery process time and the repurposed drugs time. So how we are consuming less time in repurposing drugs and coming to a potent target. So these are the examples of some successfully repurposed medications in different fields. Um, so I will just say just tamoxifen, that is anti-cancer, and that was discovered as an anti-cancer agent, and it is now used in leishmaniasis. Uh, Ivermectin, that its original indication was the river blindness and elephantiasis, is now used in tuberculosis. So the list is very long. So and there are so many successfully repurposed drugs now, that is, I mean, that has been converted from the lab to the bedside. I mean, bench to the bedside. So now coming to hypertension. Uh, Hypertension is the leading cause of cardiovascular disease and premature death worldwide. Consequently, there are a wide variety of drugs for treating this health issue. Antihypertensive drugs are among the most prescribed drugs worldwide, most of them at an accessible price with a well known safety profile, making them of particular interest of drug repurposing. Hence, repurposing of these drugs could be relevant in treatment of cancer because antihypertensive drug targets can also affect the development of malignancy either directly or indirectly or both. In vitro evidence for the efficacy of antihypertensive drugs in different cell lines showed that they may have a coadjuvant effect against chemo-resistant cell lines, inhibit cell growth and increase chemosensitivity in different types of cancer. Additionally, these drugs are well tolerated, orally administered, and off patent. So they are making them cheaper than the other cancer treatments. So, uh, so antihyper drugs can be classified into four main groups according to their mechanism of action. Those that act in the renin angiotensin aldosterone system, uh, either by inhibiting angiotensin converting enzyme, blocking the angiotensin type 1 receptor, directly inhibiting renin action, or by antagonizing aldosterone binding to its receptor. Those that act blocking the calcium channels, beta blockers that block the beta adrenergic receptor, and lastly, diuretics which decrease the volume of circulatory system. So, this is the literature search, supporting my hypothesis that antihypertensives, the established data that and the published data that antihypertensives, different antihypertensives have been used in cancer. So case studies, clinical studies are there. So I before going to the methodology, I'll just give a brief of this RAS and its pathway. I mean, what it exactly does it does in our body, how it is attached to our physiology. So RAS was originally associated with the kidneys. Its RAS is renin angiotensin aldosterone system, which produce renin in response to decreased arterial pressure, reduced sodium in the distal table or sympathetic nervous system activity through the beta adrenergic receptors. Renin is secreted from the juxtaglomerular cells in the bloodstream where it encounters angiotensinogen normally produced by the liver. Renin catalyzes the conversion of angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1, which is quickly cleaved by angiotensin converting enzyme to angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 triggers the release of aldosterone from the adrenal glands, which stimulates reabsorption of sodium and water and thereby increases blood volume and blood pressure. So angiotensin 2 also acts on smooth muscles to cause vasoconstriction of the arteriole in different organs of the body. So, it is RAS and talking about the RAS inhibitors, they are widely prescribed for the treatment of cardiovascular diseases, have considerable potential in oncology as well. So this is the diagrammatical representation of the RAS, its various components, and and the targets where the antihypertensive drugs are used. Antihypertensive drugs can be used as a ACE inhibitor, angiotensin receptor blockers, these are known as ARBs, and we can even target the receptors also, AT1 receptor and uh, angiotensin 2 type 1 receptor and type 2 receptor. So, research into the role of the RAS in cancer has gained momentum in recent time. This is underscored by the observation of dysregulation of RAS in different types of cancer and observed efficacy of RAS modulators and cancer in both cancer models and cancer patients. There is accumulating molecular and in vivo evidence to indicate that the expression and action of renin-angiotensin system influence malignancy and also predict that RAS inhibitors, which are currently used to treat hypertension and cardiovascular diseases, might augment cancer therapies. The classical RAS system is known to maintain blood pressure and body fluids. However, increased understanding of its individual components and their structures and regulatory mechanisms and the conversion and crosstalk with related pathways has resulted in the appreciation of a much more complex system. So now we'll come to the methodologies. So first of all, hmm, we were we did the computational analysis using molecular docking, uh, using the autodoc vena, and few protein targets exhibited good affinity towards the antihypertensive drugs. So the drug screening process was carried out by using bioinformatic tools and softwares, procuring a form base to validate the hypothesis. Using the Redo database, the first hand screening was done. So, what is a Redo? Just a brief of Redo. Redo is a curated listing of non-cancer drugs which have shown some anti-cancer activity. Data comes from the peer-reviewed studies, clinical trials, medical case reports. So, to identify the potential targets for repurposing by the technique of molecular docking and further validating the efficacy of the selected drug candidates by the several functional assays or in vitro studies on the cancer cell lines. So, this is the methodology in silico and in vitro, I discussed earlier. So these are the sets of the antihypertensive drugs that were chosen by us from the Redo database according to their mechanism of action and their crosstalk with cancer. And these were the receptors that were important. These are the proteins that are important hallmarks of cancer and associated with cancer overexpressed in the cancer cells. So this is angiotensin E, renin, angiotensin 2, receptor type 1, receptor type 2, breast cancer BRCA1, BRCA2, EGFR, and ERBB2, KRAS, and P53. So I did thorough docking binding affinity analysis of the docked compounds with the selected proteins using autoduct vena, and we found that telmisartan was showing the highest affinity, binding affinity among all with all the receptors. So we decided to go with telmisartan for further in vitro studies. So before that, I'll show the molecular docking results. So these are the an image of the best position ranked by energy order, and along with the 2D interaction between the ligand and the receptor. So as we can see, analyze from this slide, this that the telmisartan is forming uh, van der Waals forces, conventional hydrogen bond, pi donor hydrogen bond, pi sigma, and pi alkyl bonds with the different residues of uh, with the receptor. And the estimated free energy is 10.8 kilocalorie per mole. Similarly, the telmisartan docked with renin. It is showing the free binding energy of minus 10.3 kilocalorie per mole. And it is forming a number of hydrogen bonds with this amino acid residues and non-covalent interaction with other residues. So all the results of the docked structure with different receptors, but the ligand is same. The telmisartan. So to further validate the data, MTT assay was performed to measure the cytotoxicity of telmisartan and in the breast cancer cell line MCF7. So around 5,000 cells, 400 microliter of cells were seeded in the 96 well plate, and the concentration of drug used was 0.5 micromolar, 1 micromolar, 10 micromolar, 50, and subsequently 100 micromolar. The vehicle was DMSO and the control was complete media. So this is the morphological alterations in MCF7 cells. We got the chance to incubate the cells only for 24 hours, because after that this lockdown thing happened and the colleges got closed, so the wet lab was not possible. So we can see some not such significant difference between the different the control and the different drug concentrations, but this has to be repeated for more hours. So this is the very preliminary data. So this is the graph that I plotted from the earlier MTT experiment. So what to be done is the in vitro studies to get stable IC50 value, the combination studies, and various other functional assays like apoptosis assay, anti-proliferation assays. It can be done further in future. These are the references, and to this I end my presentation with the quotation that the most useful basis for the discovery of a new drug is to start with an old drug. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Can I stop sharing?
Yeah, you can.
And I always welcome if any questions from anyone.
So thank you, Dr. Urvasi. So we have completed Dr. Urvasi presentation for the day. So anyone having any doubts, question for her? So thank you for your enlightening presentation, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I request everyone to stay safe during this pandemic. So and hope people will get vaccinated all over India soon, so that again we will be like normalized like before. So I wish for the good everyone. So thank you, Dr. Urvasi. So anyone having any doubts, question for Dr. Urvasi? Okay, I will share the contact details of Dr. Urvasi after the conference ends so that people can connect with her directly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we'll
Take
move towards our next presentation now. So the next presentation will be given by Dr. Sanka Bhattacharya. Uh, Hi, Dr. Bhattacharya. Are you there on the screen? Hi, Dr. Puspam. Are you there on the screen? Hi, Dr. Puspam and Dr. Praveen. Is my voice is audible to you? Dr. Puspam and Dr. Praveen. So, hi everyone. We will wait for some time so that Dr. Sanka Bhattacharya will join. So, till then, we will take a break for around 2 to 3 minutes. After that, we'll start the session. Thank you.
Bye.